We, the affirmative, plan to legalize same-sex marriage in the state of California. Contention 1. Anti-same-sex marriage laws diminish social equality and well-being and lead to suicides. Subpoint A. Restricting same-sex couples from marrying devalues them as individuals. Theodore B. Olson, lawyer at Gibson, Dune & Kruger's Washington, D.C. office, January 2010. When we refuse to accord this status to gays and lesbians, we discourage them from forming the same relationships we encourage for others. And we are also telling them, those who love them, and society as a whole, that their relationships are less worthy, less legitimate, less permanent, and less valued. We demean their relationships, and we demean them as individuals. Olson continues by further explaining the impact to society. Subpoint B. Devaluing same-sex partners and their relationships weakens their ties to society. This is also January 2010. Conservatives and liberals alike need to come together on principles that surely unite us. Certainly, we can agree on the value of strong families, lasting domestic relationships, and communities populated by persons with recognized and sanctioned bonds to one another. Confining some of our neighbors and friends who share these same values to an outlaw or second-class status undermines their sense of belonging and weakens their ties with the rest of us and what should be our common aspirations. When same-sex couples are rejected by society, we find that, subpoint C, hate crimes are committed against gay and lesbian individuals. Melanie Burney, editorial writer at the Philadelphia Inquirer, March 2012. According to statistics from the Uniform Crime Reports compiled by the FBI in 2010, 1,470 hate crime incidents reported were based on a bias against a particular sexual orientation. Of those, 8.4% occurred at schools or colleges. 43% of teenagers are subject to some form of cyberbullying, according to the National Crime Prevention Council. For LGBT youth, the abuse is even higher, about 53%. Crimes against gays and lesbians often go unreported, and the violence could be much higher, experts say. Federal statistics also show that gay and lesbian youth are 2 to 6 times more likely to attempt suicide than heterosexual youth. Subpoint D, hate crimes lead to suicide. Nicole Wiesen-C. staff writer at People Magazine and Philadelphia Daily News, Washington, D.C. reporter, December 2011. On September 22, 2010, Tyler jumped off the George Washington Bridge, about 40 miles from Rutgers. His suicide preceded 3 days earlier by an incident that shocked the nation. His Rutgers roommate, Duran Ravi, 19, allegedly used a webcam to watch Tyler kissing a man in the dorm room and streamed it live. While authorities arrested Ravi and Molly Way, 19, the dorm neighbor whose computer Ravi allegedly used, a long overdue national discussion about teen bullying was ignited as word spread that Tyler's death was hardly unique. That month alone, 3 other teens killed themselves after being subjected to homophobic taunting. Subpoint E, the gay and lesbian population is most vulnerable to suicide. Shaylee Bolton, MSc, PhD candidate, and Jitender Sareen, MD, January 2011. Gay men, lesbians, and bisexual men and women face a great deal of stigma in their everyday lives, and as such experience considerable minority stress. The findings from our study show that they are more likely to have mental health problems and to attempt suicide. Although not specifically examined in our paper, these findings may be one manifestation of minority stress. Regardless of the etiology, social minorities are clearly a population vulnerable to severe and in some cases life-threatening mental health outcomes. This leads us to our contention 2. The only way to improve social equality and prevent suicides is to legalize same-sex marriage. Subpoint A, same-sex marriages will create partnerships that benefit the spouses, their families, and our communities. Theodore B. Olson, lawyer at Gibson, Dune & Kruger's Washington, D.C. office, January 2010. Marriage is one of the basic building blocks of our neighborhoods and our nation. At its best, it is a stable bond between 2 individuals who work to create a loving household and a social and economic partnership. We encourage couples to marry because the commitments they make to one another provide benefits not only to themselves, but also to their families and communities. Marriage requires thinking beyond one's own needs. It transforms 2 individuals into a union based on shared aspirations, and in doing so establishes a formal investment in the well-being of society. And from this, a restored health will emerge. Subpoint B, marriage produces healthier individuals and a healthier society. Andrew Sullivan, British author, Former editor of the New Republic, 1989. Legalizing gay marriage would offer homosexuals the same deal society now offers heterosexuals. General social approval and specific legal advantages in exchange for a deeper and harder to extract yourself from commitment to another human being. Like straight marriage, it would foster social cohesion, emotional security, and economic prudence. Since there's no reason gays should not be allowed to adopt or be foster parents, it could also help nurture children. A law institutionalizing gay marriage would merely reinforce a healthy social trend. Although this is a relatively new issue, there is some empirical supportive evidence from Canada. Subpoint C, same-sex marriage has had positive effects in Canada. Heather McIntosh, Department of Psychology at the University of Ottawa, 2010. Socially, participants indicated that the language of marriage had an important impact in helping the people in their lives to better understand and validate their relationship. They welcomed taking on the rights and responsibilities of legal marriage and felt that it allowed them to finally be full participants in society. They also recognized that the positive effects on their relationships also had the potential to impact society through increased exposure and normalization. People who had witnessed their marriages and who continued to support them had become more willing to speak out against homophobia and to support governmental... And now start over cross-examination.
Okay. In your 1AC, in contention 1, I believe, subpoint E, you reference a study. Could you read the evidence for me, please?
The whole quote?
Yeah, please.
Gay men, lesbians, and bisexual men and women face a great deal of stigma in their everyday lives, and as such experience considerable minority stress. The findings from our study show that they are more likely to have mental health problems and to attempt suicide. Although not specifically examined in our paper, these findings may be one manifestation of minority stress. Regardless of the etiology, social minorities are clearly a population vulnerable to severe and in some cases life-threatening mental health outcomes.
Okay, in this evidence you reference a study, you say the findings from our study show. Do you have any actual evidence, statistics, anything that actually supports that? No. I believe it also says, although not specifically examined in our paper, these findings may be one manifestation of minority stress. So basically what they're saying is we didn't actually study whether or not they're caused by each other. This might be because of stress. We don't actually know, right? Is that basically what that sentence is saying?
Well, it also says the findings from our study show that they are more likely to
have mental health problems. The findings that you don't have, and it says we did not specifically examine this, and these may be one manifestation, correct?
I don't have statistics from their findings, but I have their results.
Okay. Can you define marriage for me? If it's not between one man and one woman, can you define what marriage means?
It's a legal bond between two individuals.
Any two individuals?
Well, currently in California, it's a man and a woman.
Okay, what do you believe it should be?
No.
Okay, what do you believe it should be?
Between any two individuals.
Any two?
Yes.
Okay. Do you believe marriage is a right?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Do you have any legal proof as to why it should be a right?
Time.
Thank you.